Next, I would like to introduce the 2023 CARE Philadelphia dramatic presentation produced by CARE's own Jacob Bender, featuring some vignettes from CARE Philadelphia's work this past year. The cast includes CARE staff, community members telling their own stories, and community members joining. After the presentation, CARE Philadelphia's Ahmed Takaliklu and Sally Salim will provide a closer look at CARE Philadelphia's financial report and plans for 2023 to 2024.
We do. Except for Baba Kenya.
Do you need one?
All right.
Oh, you're sharing. I'm not that short.
Okay, there's no drama. We are gonna start in a minute. Bismillah.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Oh, here he
I'm
is.
looking at my director, Jacob. I know that the light is affecting me, but all right. I think we are all here.
We are here.
As you can see, you have here staff members and community members, and we are honored to present this for you. These are the records of the messenger. These are the records of the companions of the messenger, peace be upon them all, who followed the Prophet ﷺ on the perilous journey to Medina.
Where they established a new community.
And wrote the Medina Constitution, one of the first attempts at consultative government in human history.
By its 3rd century, Islam had spread from Straits of Gibraltar in the west to the Indonesian archipelago in the east.
Islam had become the planet's most advanced civilization.
While the next few centuries witnessed their fair share of conflict and violence, exemplified by the Crusades, the transatlantic slave trade, and British imperialism,
There were significant moments of coexistence and cross-fertilization. By the end of the 19th century, over 90% of the world's Muslims were living under the harsh heel of Western colonial domination.
Even today, however, Orientalist professors and conservative commentators in the West generally refuse to acknowledge the devastating impact Western imperialism had on the Muslim world, stifling Muslim economic and democratic development.
Even before 9/11, the so-called experts on what they insisted on calling Islamic terrorism had coalesced into a political movement known as neoconservatism. These mostly white men quickly became a cheering squad for the Bush administration's invasion of Iraq, as well as for the ever-expanding Israeli occupation of Palestine.
This all became part of a fictional clash of civilizations between the West and the Muslim world, stirred up by neoconservative delusions.
While Muslims abroad were often the collateral victims of American drone attacks in Yemen, Afghanistan, Syria, Jordan, and Lebanon, American Muslims became the victims of the war on terror that shredded the civil rights in the process.
add to this the decades-old FBI surveillance of black Muslim movements in the U.S., as well as the Muslim ban, in addition to the Muslim registry, and the frightening impact of Islamophobia on individual American Muslims becomes clear.
10 years after 9/11, Isra, a Muslim student in middle school in central Pennsylvania, was often called insulting names and bullied in her school.
She was even afraid to wear her hijab. And why?
One day, a student snatched my hijab from my head, causing a wound around my neck. This went on for years, leading to me developing PTSD around wearing a hijab. I was even beaten by students and suspended unjustly for 4 days. Then, when I was in the 8th grade, a fellow student shouted out of the blue an outright lie. Isra said she was related to Osama bin Laden and wanted to bomb the school. I was escorted by security, moments later, to the principal's office, where I was interrogated and searched, which included taking off my hijab, which is something that never happened to me before. I walked into the room, seeing the district officials, my principal, and the police. They interrogated me without either my parents or a lawyer present.
She was humiliated, scared, and angry.
And I told the police that it was a lie.
And yet she was unjustly suspended for 3 days.
I did not tell anyone, didn't tell my parents. I intercepted calls coming from school to home. I did not know what to do and how to navigate. I was upset, confused, and scared. As I grew into young adulthood, I saw my own community and siblings navigate a similar challenge. And I became aware of organizations like CARE that were working to ensure that other American Muslim children do not experience what I had to endure.
That's why, together with Dr. Aisha and others from her community, Isra invited CARE Philadelphia to their small mosque in Lebanon, Pennsylvania. And it was there, with the encouragement of Dr. Ahmed and Asiya from CARE, that Isra first shared her story with a room full of middle school and high school students.
And thus, it was on January 17th of 2023 that Isra took part, together with the members of CARE Philadelphia staff, in a meeting with the new Lebanon Valley School Administration and local Muslim leaders.
It was awkward to be addressing administrators of a district where I had been harmed.
The purpose of the meeting was to discuss the feedback we had collected from Muslim students and parents, and to advocate for change on a number of issues ranging from Ramadan accommodations to concerns around teachers' knowledge of Islam and Muslims.
As a response to this bullying of Muslim students in our region schools, as in Esra's story, and to impart to them the tools of civic advocacy, last year our office organized dozens of workshops where we reached nearly 200 students from 9 school districts across the Philadelphia region. We also trained 115 school teachers across the region in workshops.
As an integral part of these efforts, the students and CARE Philadelphia staff met multiple times with School District of Philadelphia officials to ensure Eid recognition and greater accommodation for Muslim students throughout the greater Delaware Valley.
This is democracy in action.
One of these students who spoke eloquently in a meeting with the new superintendent of Philadelphia schools, Dr. Tony Wallington, Sr., was George Lane, who recently received an early admission to Morehouse College, my alma mater.
George is currently in the 10th grade and was one of the student participants at the CARE Philadelphia 2022 Muslim Youth Leadership Summit that was hosted by the Philadelphia Masjid.
After the summit, I was inspired to develop a survey around Muslim student experiences in the Philadelphia School District. My survey collected more than 3,000 responses and powerfully expressed the students' concerns about inclusion and equity in school.
The survey found that an astounding 49% of students reported that they had been bullied in their schools. 91% said they had informed the school officials. Out of these, over 70% said school officials had ignored their pleas and did not address the issues.
I presented these findings directly to the superintendent, Dr. Wallington, at CARE Philadelphia's listening session in November, and then enjoyed meetings together with my elders like Sister Salima from Mgage, Imam Idris from Masjid Allah, Sister Aliyah from AZK Communications, and others. What an experience.
Dr. Wallington asked his team to work in collaboration with CARE Philadelphia and the Muslim community to address these concerns and issues.
Along with my friend Samir Clark, another one of the students at the summit, I am currently working as an intern with Asiya Jones, CARE Philadelphia's Youth Leadership and Advocacy Projects Coordinator, to further collect stories of activism and advocacy.
Since January 2022, in our presentations and workshops, We engaged 69 Philadelphia School District teachers and DEI officials on issues faced by Muslim students and parents.
Every day, CARE Philadelphia is actively working for the better inclusion and equity for Muslim students in public schools.
Last year alone, across Pennsylvania and Delaware, CARE Philadelphia engaged 115 school teachers in trainings and engaged 243 students in listening sessions to ensure that our students have access to a peaceful and respectful learning environment.
This is defending our faith, and this is bottom-up democracy.
Upholding this democracy and protecting our rights require a dynamic legal team, and your contributions allow CARE Philadelphia to do exactly that.
Imagine, you're excited when you get a chance to help the Afghan refugees fleeing violence in their country. You show up to the airport after being hired by local authorities to provide translation services for them.
I was so excited to provide my translation services for his native language of Farsi, Pashto, Dari, Urdu, and Uzbeki. Showed up at the airport late at night and didn't mind to stand up all night along my two daughters, Zohal, 21, a nurse, and Zohra, 13, just a helper with us. I did not mind standing long hours on foot. I was able to help my city welcome Afghan refugees to the brotherly love city. And then I faced a cold and forgiving fact of racist at workplace discrimination, a company that only cared about their profit and not to the people who they employed or served. They fired me, stripped me of my duties and my friends in a matter of minutes. Upon their request, airport police escorted us out of the airport. We were humiliated, hurt, and angry.
And why did this happen? Because they spoke among one another in their own native tongue, and they raised questions about the company's questionable practices.
And what did I do? What did we do? We turned to CARE. CARE Philadelphia team have been helping, and it's been going on case, a long process. We still have some ways to go, but knowing that we have organizations that can support us and take our calls late in the evenings, that means a lot.
Our next story is one that tens of thousands became familiar with through CARE Philadelphia's legal work and advocacy.
Imagine getting a job offer for almost double your current salary for a position you did not even apply for. Starting this job, loving it, and then being fired in a matter of days.
This is the story of Natalie Abudhawa. She was fired for her pro-Palestine advocacy based on a misleading profile of her created by an Islamophobic organization that routinely smears the reputation of Muslims, Jews, Christians, or anyone who dares criticize the policies of Israel and its American supporters, like AIPAC.
Natalie's courage and CARE's dedication to its clients ensured that we are on the brink of finalizing a resolution for this case, inshallah.
The courage and sacrifices of our community pays off. This is legal advocacy. This is democracy.
Sometimes in America, change comes from the government, like Reconstruction, Social Security, the National Park System. But more often than not, it will be the work of everyday people like you and us who organize for the common good and to uphold justice.
Here in Pennsylvania, we had a prison specifically run to first imprison children and then women. Berks County commissioners work with ICE to run this facility, and it compiled a record of multiple violations and reports of inhumane conditions.
A coalition of justice-minded Pennsylvanians have been running a campaign to shut this facility down.
CARE Philadelphia has been proud to join the efforts of the campaign in the last 2 years, working to ensure our communities mobilize and stand up for justice in the face of criminalization of women and children fleeing injustice and oppression, often created by American policies themselves.
Today, with our coalition members, we celebrate that this facility, this shameful record on our state's history, is no longer. We shut it down.
We told ICE to stop terrorizing our communities. We prevented our tax dollars from being used in the service of inhumane practices.
We conclude our presentation tonight with the words of our great teacher, Brother Malcolm, also known as El-Hajj El-Malik El-Shabazz. A half a century after he was gunned down in cold blood, his words still resonate with the oppressed and millions of freedom-loving people around the world.
There is no better than adversity. Every defeat, every heartbreak, every loss contains its own seed, its own lesson on how to improve your performance next time.
Anytime you have to beg another man to set you free, you will never be free. Freedom is something that you have to do for yourselves.
I have no mercy or compassion in me for a society that will crush people and then penalize them for not being able to stand up under the weight.
You are not to be so blind with patriotism that you can't face reality. Wrong is wrong, no matter who does it or says it.
True Islam taught me that it takes all kinds of religious, political, economic, psychological, and racial ingredients or characteristics to make the human family and the human society complete.
Sitting at the table doesn't make you a diner unless you eat some of what's on that plate. Being here in America doesn't make you an American. Being born here in America doesn't make you an American.
Time is on the side of the oppressed today. It's against the oppressor. Truth is on the side of the oppressed today. It's against the oppressor. You don't need anything else.
A new world order is in the making, and it is up to us to prepare ourselves that we may take our rightful place in it.
If you have no critics, you'll likely have no success.
If you're not careful, the newspapers will have you hating the people you are being oppressed and loving the people who are doing the oppressing.
Power in defense of freedom is greater than power in behalf of tyranny and oppression.
So tonight, in conclusion, we turn to our theme tonight. In defense of our faith, in defense of democracy, we will do everything by
any means necessary.